Hello everybody, my name is Jordan Orell and I'm making another daily video on circumcision. And today I would like to talk a little bit about something I was just talking about with my good intactivist friend, which is the term intact versus the term intact versus the term uncircumcised. So which is the better term to use? Intact, mostly. I mean, this is clear. This is the point of intactivism. The reason for that name is it's natural to have your whole penis, like it's natural to have your whole vagina. We wouldn't even really call it intact, but you have to say something so that people know that you're trying to say something. So intact simply means it's whole, it's natural, it's the way it's supposed to be, it's just normal. Whereas circumcised or mutilated is when you cut part of it off. So the reason that intactivism uses this term intact is to bring back the understanding that it's normal to have your whole body. It's not normal to cut an important, very pleasurable, very sensitive part of it off. And the reason that this is sometimes not the best case, or not the best thing to actually use, is because a lot of people don't know that. And to right off the bat jump into a tirade about how they're using the wrong word and you shouldn't be using the word uncircumcised and it's not the correct thing, because why would you wouldn't say that about a woman, you wouldn't say she's unmastectomied. I mean, it makes a good point, and sometimes if the person's really open, they'll see, oh yeah, that doesn't make sense. But it can also kind of set people off. It can also be very off-putting and make you seem like an extremist and like you aren't open to dialogue, which, isn't the best way to convince people. Usually people, if they can, have their own opinion and come to their own conclusion, they don't really want to be yelled at and sort of told what they should think. People like to have the illusion that they think for themselves, even though they don't. So my advice on this topic would be, use the term intact when you are talking to people who understand the issue already. People who know what you mean are intactivists. It's normal and that's what you expect them to use. However, when you're talking to someone who doesn't know anything about the issue, you can use the term uncircumcised. I actually don't use that term. I actually do. I think it's kind of a weird word, just because it is weird to say something, it's just normal. So I just use the word has their foreskin or doesn't have their foreskin. Actually is my most common use. You can certainly use uncircumcised until you get to the point in the conversation with them where you've been talking about it for a while, and you might want to say, by the way, I actually usually don't use the word uncircumcised, I use intact, because it's weird to kind of call someone by what they're not, just call them whole, just normal, because that's the way they naturally are. You want to call a woman uncircumcised, or you're somebody unbeheaded, or unamputated any other part of their body. So yeah, that's basically it. The main point of this is, don't waste time trying to argue over words when you haven't even made your point yet. When you're talking about this issue with people, what you really want to get across to them is the foreskin is extremely sensitive. It feels really, really, really fucking good. It has a lot of nerve endings in it, and serves a lot of important functions. If it's someone who may be a new mother, they may be persuaded by the fact that it's extremely painful, it's unnecessary, doesn't have any benefits, and can actually cause very serious complications in a relatively high percentage of cases, such as him losing his penis or dying. And yeah, it's you can leave it up to him. You can let him decide what he wants to do with his own penis. It's kind of a human rights violation. It's kind of just cruel to cut off part of him in a procedure that's actually extremely painful, and often they don't use any anesthesia, and potentially psychologically damaging as well because it's so painful. Can also interrupt breastfeeding, can also, the list goes on. Most of the world isn't circumcised and they're perfectly fine. You know, there's a lot of arguments, and you should say all of those arguments, everything you have to say about it, is pretty much more important than the word that you use. You know, if they don't know any of that, then they think you're just kind of weird and like have some obsession with words, or they won't really get the point that you're trying to make. So one last thing I'll say about this. I think in the long run, ultimately, we do want to get people using the term intact. And so in the longer discussion, like Garrett Klopper's speech that just came out, I think it's very useful to use the word intact, or he actually used uncircumcised throughout a lot of the play, and then towards the end, or halfway somewhere, he started using intact. I think it's a really great way to do it, and I think that yeah, when you're having an elongated discussion with someone, it's really useful. And I think ultimately we want to move towards using intact and then eliminating the word altogether. You know, it's just a penis. You know, uncircumcised vagina is kind of weird, but intact vagina is also still kind of weird. It's just a vagina. It's just the way that your body was made before some fucking idiot decided to cut part of it off. Like, simple as that. And that's the direction we're moving in. I think intact will be a good transition from uncircumcised, and hopefully that meme will continue to spread so that people understand it's just a penis. It's not like a weird penis with extra skin. It's a penis the way that it was made, that it evolved to mutually pleasure your partner. And it's really, 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 really awesome to have all of the nerve endings that are in the most sensitive part of your cock. It's a good thing, and that's why it's there. That's why it's normal. That's why it's the way it is, except for those who it's not. So, as I always say, hopefully Foragen will make us all intact. By regenerating the foreskin, but if not, there's also restored foreskins too, and that's a whole nother realm. You might call those uncircumcised because you have uncircumcised it. It's like a verb, or regenerated foreskin, but I would just call that a foreskin. Just call that a penis. Which, by the way, also the word foreskin is denoting part of your penis that's like, there's no like line like foreskin starts here. It's just continuous with the penis. It's just a whole penis. Like, there's not like a cut here line. It's totally arbitrary. So let's stop cutting baby dicks, guys. Thanks for watching. As always, I will talk to you again tomorrow. Have a great day.